Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hi.
Hi. We are Paleo Plan. My name is Kinsey.
And I'm
Uh,
Sally.
I'm Chuck and Allie.
that's our technical support team there. And this is our third video chat, and thank you guys for joining us again. So tonight we wanted to address something that's come up in the group quite a bit, and it's totally understandable, and we all get it and wanted to share some of our experience with you, and that's about money and how much paleo costs. Because, to be frank, paleo can be expensive, but it doesn't have to be. And through our years of experience, we've just learned some tips and tricks, and that's going to be the topic of today's lecture. But before we get started, we are going to read you our little disclaimer. So, Sally, would you be able to do that?
Yes, I'd be happy to do that. I'm going to read it nice and quickly.
In Pig Latin.
In English. Kinsey and I are nutritionists, not physicians, and the scope of this discussion tonight is not intended as diagnosis or treatment of specific illness or conditions. If you have an ailment or illness that may require medical attention, then you are encouraged to consult with a licensed physician without delay. The sole purpose of tonight's discussion is to broaden your knowledge of the paleo diet principles and motivate you to assume more personal responsibility for your health by adopting a healthy attitude, lifestyle, and diet. Rah, rah!
What?
Go paleo! Go paleo!
Oh, paleo! We're going to do this whole talk in cheerleading style tonight.
Yes, we are. Oh, where are my pom-poms? Oh, gosh.
Oh, shoot, we forgot our pom-poms. Next. Air pom-poms.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, we're just going to kind of cut to the chase because we're talking about, last week we talked a lot about time management, and along the same lines, we're talking about time management, which kind of just is tied up with the whole saving money thing. And if you guys are subscribed to the newsletter, this week I sent out 6 tips for saving money on paleo. And I wanted to go through some of those, and Sally and I just wanted to chat more about our experiences with each of those things. I know personally, when I first started eating paleo, it's been almost 6 years now, I actually was recently going through all my receipts from back then, and I was blown away with how much money I was spending. I was shopping at like Whole Foods, I was shopping every week, I was buying small amounts of things, and it was hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Now I feel like I have this efficient system where I go to the grocery store, honestly, like once, twice a month, coupled with some Costco trips, but I've like got it down. And I save a ton of money as a result. There's like very little food waste. Paleo Plan meal plans are designed exactly for that. It's like minimizing the amount of waste that happens, and I think that's a big part of the expense of paleo. I think it's a couple things. I don't know. Tell me, Sally, but I think it's like the fact that, well, yeah, you're buying really fancy items because you're like, ooh, this is paleo, that's paleo, or especially like if you've gone gluten-free, it's like there's gluten for everything, and of course it's twice the amount of anything else out there, so you're just paying a lot of money. But then, you know, you're buying a lot of food because you don't really know what you're doing and you don't know how to be efficient yet, so there's a lot of waste that happens. At least for me there was up front.
Yeah. Especially if you're not buying in bulk, which can be kind of a challenge. You have to order online usually to do it. You don't have to. There are stores like Costco, but you really have to plan to do it. And if you're not, you end up running out to the store, paying through the nose for all these ingredients, and then not storing them properly, and maybe they go bad. And it's just, it does take planning and a lot of thinking to get it right. And that just takes practice.
Absolutely. It comes with time. But what we talked about this week on the email were a couple different things that you can do to sort of like have stock on hand, really, so that you aren't running to the store every single time that you need an ingredient. And it, certain things you want to buy fresh, but there is a lot of stuff that you can have at home. And if you have the ability to have a freezer, we actually just got a 20 cubic foot upright freezer. And so excited about it. We have had this chest freezer, which is nice. I don't know if you guys know the difference, but the like upright freezer is like a refrigerator, and the chest freezer is the one that you open. And the chest isn't as nice, I don't think, because you have to like dig through stuff to find stuff. You kind of forget, but the uprights, like you can see everything. And we got it at we bought it on Black Friday and got a really good deal on it. So, but I'm really excited because finally I have a place for my grass-fed meat. And we've called around, and now, you know, in the last couple of years, we've developed relationships with some of the ranchers and the farmers around here, and we buy like, we started with a quarter cow, and now we buy a half cow a year, and we started going in on a cow, a full cow with a family, and the more you buy, like, the cheaper it becomes of grass-fed meat, and that has been amazing to cut. Have you ever done that, Sally? Do you guys like?
I have not. And, you know, I think when I first started paleo and started reading about people buying a whole cow and a half a cow, I'm really embarrassed, but the first thoughts in my head was, well, how do you get that in your freezer? But it doesn't come as a whole cow. It comes.
Oh, yeah. No, exactly.
Portioned out and cut up, and yeah. So when you're buying half a cow, you're buying half a cow's worth of parts. That's what it is. So.
You know what? That is such a good point. I totally forgot about that. But yeah, I was like, how's this thing, like, what is this thing going to look like? Are we going to be hanging out? Or like, what?
Is it a really big cow, you know? It's a small cow? Yeah.
No, the rancher sends it to the butcher, and then it basically comes to you, like, really nicely wrapped in different, like, labeled with what type of cut it is, and there's a lot of ground beef. But you want to make sure to ask for the bones, because they won't automatically give you the bones or any of the organs if you want them, or the fat. Because a lot of people, for some reason, want to throw those parts away, but those parts of the animal are extremely nutrient dense and really, truly some of the best power foods that you can fuel your body with. So make sure if you do buy some cow direct that you ask for those parts, and maybe you'll even get extra because people often don't want them. But yeah, everything comes packaged and nice. What's that, Chuck? Did someone say?
Anything.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you were going to tell us about your cow, Bessie, and how offended you are about this whole conversation.
Speaking to what Sally was saying about, you know, I was going to buy a whole cow or half cow, where would you even put it? You know, that is why you buy an extra freezer, a deep freezer, or a chest or whatever. You know, there's lots of great places. If you can't buy it local, which would be recommended, there's tons of places. Slanker, Texas grass-fed beef. What's the wellness or
U.S. Wellness Meats?
U.S. Wellness Meats.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, there's lots and lots, and through your farmers market, you'll find farms that you haven't even heard of, smaller ones that are near you. So.
And when you buy that kind of meat in bulk, typically you can actually almost get it for the same price that you would at like a Publix or whatever grocery store for regular meat. You can buy the grass-fed in bulk for about the same price.
Right.
Yeah, we know the Slanker family, and they're very cool people. So it does pay to know the people that you're getting your meat from. You want to make sure that it's the closer you can get to the source with your food, the better. But sometimes people don't have the option of having a freezer because it can be expensive or it can be big. Like, we have a garage, so I was able to put my 20-foot giant freezer in the garage. But my girlfriend who lives in this tiny apartment, she got a chest freezer from Costco. It was $100. And she put it in, she put a tablecloth over it and uses it as a table in her living room. So if there's a will, there's a way. And it really does pay off. It really does cut your costs on grass, because if you're going to the store to buy grass-fed meat, like in individual things, there's really nothing more expensive than that. That's so expensive.
Right. So. My mother-in-law needed more counter space in her kitchen, so she used a freezer as more counter space. That worked out.
That's a good idea.
And we have probably what a lot of people have is that old refrigerator in your garage. So yeah, it's not a full freezer, but you do have extra freezer space. Mm-hmm. So, you know, whatever you do.
I found a good deal on our freezer, and we ended up paying like $350, which is insanely good price for, it's like an $800 or $900 freezer. But I saw some stuff like people were giving them away on Craigslist, and maybe they're older, but I would scope Craigslist as well for a good deal. And then again, the chest freezers at Costco are less than $200, and that's kind of to go.
Very
At least in
affordable.
this part of the world.
Yeah.
Ashley, who's watching right now, said she's a farmer raising pastured pigs and sheep. She recommends visiting the farm and getting to know your local farmer by name.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I love that, and just getting to know their energy. We actually trade seafood with our guy that we get our beef from. So, because my fiance is a fisherman, so it's really cool, like, to be able to trade too. I don't know.
No, that's
really. So yeah, there are lots of options for meat. Ideally you do get it locally from your farmer and that you're buddies with them. And if you can't afford the space or for whatever reason, there's great stuff online. For pork, the Berkshire folks, Sproutfield, they have some great pork online. And like we said, Slanker is a great place. And the U.S. Wellness Meats does a really good job and has a huge variety too.
Mm-hmm.
Two, the second thing in the email was just other stuff that you can buy in bulk. Like, I remember when I first went paleo, this is kind of type A, but I made a chart of all of the different items that I used frequently, and then I went around to different stores and I did cost comparisons, and I kind of figured out that there's quite a price difference between different stores. So I think just the longer you do this, the more aware you become of, oh, it's cheaper to get my, whatever here and whatever there. But in general, I found that the cheapest, if you use a lot of almond flour or coconut flour, like you have a big family and you can freeze the stuff, which is what I do. I don't have a huge family, but I just put it in the freezer because I have a giant freezer now. Honeyville.com is, I think, the cheapest place to buy bulk almond and coconut flour online. And Costco, I know, around here just recently started selling almond and coconut flour. So you might check those two places. And then I've seen it in bulk a lot of places, but I don't know, the bulk bin.
Yeah, you have to be careful with the bulk bins. You don't know what the conditions are in them, whether there's moisture or not.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not sure what's kind of going on there.
For 5 years, and it was like, I don't need out of the bulk bins.
So
Yeah.
Denise wrote that she found almond flour today at Walmart, and she paid half the price of what it was at Publix. So
Nice. Yeah, we have like a grocery outlet here where it's super cheap too. So scope around, because these things are becoming, like 5 years ago, nobody had even heard of almond flour, and now places like Costco are carrying it, and Walmart, and
Everywhere.
yeah. So like look around and check your local cheap grocery place, because you just never know where you might find this stuff. But in general, I've found that Costco and Honeyville for the baking flours are a good thing. Let's see, other stuff to buy in bulk.
Well,
Nut
nuts.
butter I buy at Costco. They have like that big old almond butter. I'm trying to like envision what my Costco shopping cart looks like right now. They have a lot of like canned stuff that I get there, and I get their organic chicken broth just to have the box, because sometimes I just don't have time to like make bone broth.
Right.
But another thing to mention is if you get your bones with the animals that you're buying, then making bone broth is now free. And to buy bone broth is very expensive, and it's definitely doesn't have the same nutritional density as, the
Right.
box stuff doesn't have the same nutritional
The
density.
more you can use from your animal, the cheaper it's all going to be.
Mhm.
Buy those chickens, roast them up, boil the bones, and you have a lot of meals on your hands.
Yeah. So, shop at Costco. Keeper boxes, like I mentioned in the email, I bought from our local farm. They have these keeper boxes, which is just like this big brown box full of this brown paper stuff, and it has all these potatoes or carrots or onions or beets are the 4 types of things they've got going, and you just spritz them. Well, you don't spritz the potatoes, but all winter long they last, which is super cool, I think, because
Oh, wow. That's
like
great.
and they were each 20 or 15 or something bucks. So to have those, to not have to buy any of those things all winter and to have paid that much up front. It's all about buying in bulk, really.
Right. And of course, if things are out of season, we're moving off meats here into vegetables and stuff, but if things are out of season, they're going to be much more expensive because they've been flown in from halfway around the world. So in those cases, buying frozen might be a lot cheaper. And nutritionally, it's really just as good, especially if it's been flown in from half the world. It might even be more nutritious frozen, organic and frozen than it is. So, you know, look at those alternatives, and that'll last you, again, in your freezer. Yeah. Sometimes even canned stuff if you have to go there. Make sure it's BPA free if you can, which is hard to find. But you got to do what you got to do.
You got to do it. I know. That was part of the reason why we were like forced to get a freezer, is because I grew that huge garden this year, and I harvested all the stuff and I blanched it and I vacuum sealed it. And so it's awesome because I have all these veggies that I grew that I haven't paid for veggies in a long time, but the space is a factor.
Do you love your vacuum sealer?
I love my vacuum sealer. I use the heck out of my vacuum sealer. I have 2 of them because one of them gets tired because it's vacuum sealing so much. So yeah, I do. And I'm sure people have mixed feelings about the plastic and whatnot, but
you really saved yourself from a lot of waste. I can't tell you how often something does just go to waste sitting around in my fridge for, it's behind something, I forgot it was there, then it's gone, it's gone bad and I have to throw it away. So that is great. That is great.
Yeah, and before I started, I used to put stuff in Ziploc bags or Tupperwares, but the air, it really does decrease the nutrient content of the food because of the oxygenation process. And so to have an airtight package, I think is pretty valuable because it does retain the nutrition better and the taste better. It doesn't taste like freezer burn.
Yeah.
So to me, it's worth it.
I agree with you. But if you don't have one, I did learn this trick recently where you take a freezer bag and put your stuff in, and the way to get the air out is to close it almost full and put a straw in and just suck the air out a few times, as much air out as you can, zip it up.
Oh, that's interesting. You can fill a tub with water and then submerge the thing because it'll push the air out.
All right, so that's 2 good tips right there.
Yeah, seal it, before the water gets inside.
Smart. Okay. Now we have no excuse. Cool. No freezer burn. Save hundreds of dollars over a year.
Seriously, the way that I go to the grocery store once or twice a year is by doing this kind of thing. I grow my food, I package it. It's a lot of work in the summer, but I save so much money and it's fun work to me. So it feels good. It's wow, I grew this. I know where it came from. It doesn't get more local than that.
It doesn't. And wow, it's just a great feeling. It's just worth it. It's worth the tender, loving care. It's a labor of love. Yeah.
It is a labor of love. And I know a lot of people said this week that, I can't do this much time and it's really hard for me. I don't have the time to invest. And at the end of the day, it is a labor of love. And for me, I feel this is my medicine. I'm using food as my medicine because I was bald and crippled before I started paleo. So I'm not anymore. And to spend extra time in the kitchen, to me, is just the price that I pay to be well. And it's a no-brainer.
Right, absolutely.
So, and I know that everybody doesn't have that experience, but kind of everybody does have that experience because this is about vitality. And it's well, how do you want to feel? How well do you want to feel? How much do you want to work for it? Right. And it's you work for it and you get the results back that you work for. Having said that, there's so many things that you can do to make it you shouldn't hate being in the kitchen, right?
Yeah, you shouldn't. There's a lot of reasons people do, and I'm sympathetic, but the goal with a paleo lifestyle, because you're doing paleo for a reason. We all have our reasons for wanting to do this, and they're all probably very intense, deep reasons, and because it's not an easy thing to do. You know, that's been the whole message of the challenge. That's why it's a challenge, because it's so hard to do. So yeah, it is important to get comfortable in the kitchen. You know, for however many hours or minutes you can, it's important to do what you can. And you know, we've been posting on the Facebook posts the last 2 days all about budget. And one thing we talked about today is even if you can't quite get a whole garden together, this summer, this spring, you know, do a little herb garden on your windowsill. Just buy a few pots. You literally just poke some seeds into the soil there, water it, and you're going to get your herbs. And just think how good you'll feel when you're just cutting your own fresh herbs into your salads, your dishes. Any little thing you can do to make cooking more fun, to make it more personal, and healthier and cheaper. That's the whole point.
Yeah, and herbs are like the most expensive thing